There are literally tons of PlayStation 1 games that have charm, soul, character, etc. But let's take a closer look at Chrono Cross. Common praise for Chrono Cross often falls to the story and the writing, the element color system of magic, and just this huge cast of memorable characters that, people just love these characters. Now, all those things are properly celebrated, but I want to know where the soul kind of comes in. What's the glue that holds the whole game kind of together and makes it so great? I think soul is a buzzword, and it definitely can be a hard thing to define, but I think that definition is fluid game to game. So let's take a look at Chrono Cross. So first we gotta lay some groundwork, and I think to start, this era of video games have a really interesting kind of strength, and that strength is something that comes from an issue that the modern age doesn't really encounter as much, and that's just limitations. Hardware limitations of the time made it maybe a little more difficult to convince us, the players, to take something seriously, like a character or a plot point. And that's kind of as RPGs started to evolve to take on more complex and serious story-driven experiences. The solution for many developers was to just give a very clear idea of the who, the what, and the where visually of a given game with, auxiliary art assets, FMVs, character portraits, and even like the box art and the manual. But it left it up to the player still to connect that this guy is actually this guy. And I think this gap was really important for player interpretation and imagination. Take this in contrast to more modern games, or remakes of some of these classics, where everything is sharp, everything is represented as intended, and it makes cracks show more easily. It leaves little to the player's imagination. I think it can even be distilled down to how impressionist art is thought of as more compelling and thought-provoking than something bending towards photorealism, where one might be more representative of a real location or a real moment in time. The other is connected to the expression and the interpretation of both the creator and the viewer, which builds this kind of sense of wonder and imagination opposed to an experience that is strictly, impressive to look at. And I think right there is where the first element of soul kind of comes in for Chrono Cross. The game does represent its environments and its characters in that classic PlayStation 1 digestible and kind of pared down way, but then bam, in the menu you're hit with not just a character portrait, but a straight up full body piece of art that represents the character exactly as the design team intended. The art is totally unique to this game, and it brings out the full potential of that simple sprite that you see when you're just running around the game world. The menu itself even runs at a higher resolution than normal gameplay so that they can fit the best quality image here. And it seriously really makes a difference. I mean, how many of us have looked at concept art from some of our favorite games and thought, damn, I wish the game actually looked like this. But Chrono Cross, it's literally included in the game. This might seem like a simple addition, but it really props up every strength of the game in a big way. Characters, story, everything is just enriched by seeing the true form and the artistic expression of each character, so to speak. Many games that have so much soul, like Chrono Cross, it comes from the same place, and that is the music. Composer Yasunori Matsuda created the perfect soundtrack for this specific journey. The game world is full of blue sky and ocean breeze and these ancient places, and all of those things are really well represented in the music. But the gameplay mechanic that's present throughout is kind of hopping between your own home world and this kind of alternate version of reality, where things are familiar but just off in one way or another. It's a place that looks like yours, but you don't belong there. And I find that the music for each location in home world versus another world contrasts this feeling so well that it is like literally painful. Take a listen to the town theme for Goldove in Home and Another World. This is a game and a story about people who, for one reason or another, are kind of lost and seeking something. If it's a lost loved one, a home, whatever it may be, the soundtrack ties in perfectly for every location and moment in the story. In an era where voice acting was so rare in video games, it really fell to the soundtrack to kind of bear the burden of storytelling alongside the text on the screen. And there's perhaps no better example in video games for this formula being perfected than here in Chrono Cross. Art and music are always going to be important with video game design, but we're perhaps at their peak importance in this era of limitations. Maybe that's why so many games of the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 time are considered the most soulful and well-crafted. I would love to make a longer, deeper video about Chrono Cross at some point, so let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Peace.